guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zay and today I'm going to be doing my January wrap up. So I'm going to be honest and say that wrap ups are not my favorite for me to do. Personally, I just don't think I do the best job. Being completely honest with you guys, I don't think my wrap ups are personally the best. I forget everyone's names and I don't really know, but you know, whatever, I'm doing it, and I definitely want to figure out a different way to kind of do my wrap-ups, so that'll probably change eventually, but as of now we're just doing it the regular traditional way. But I am excited to talk about these books with you all because I read some pretty good books, and I think I read like 14 books, not too bad. I was honestly trying to get to 20, but it's fine. It doesn't matter, that's not what this is all about. My Goodreads goal is really low, but I just put it at 25 books. I think that's really good. I was gonna do 0, and then Goodreads would not let me change my number. So I just was like, okay, why did I choose 25? I don't know. Whatever. We just went with it. So anyway, I want to talk about them. So let's just get right into it. This year, I really want to start reading outside of the romance genre. I definitely need to do my research when it comes to like my TBRs and stuff like that. So definitely expect to see that throughout the year. But I just think like changing up the genre for me is going to help me because I just was in so many slumps last year, and I think it was just because I was just reading romance, mainly contemporary romance. So even within the romance genre, I want to change it up, and I did that this month. I'm going to be honest and say that I did not read very diversely. I only read one book by an author of color, which is just not good, and I am here to hold myself accountable. I don't really care, to be honest, about what anyone else is doing. I need to be doing what I'm supposed to do, so I'm holding myself accountable. That's something that I will be improving upon. And yeah, I just definitely, going to be talking about some of those things. I am using Storygraph, so I started using Storygraph last year, and I really like Storygraph. I know a lot of people have gotten rid of Goodreads, so follow me on Storygraph. And of course, I'm super active on Goodreads. So anyways, one thing that I filled out was writing reviews for all of my books. I need to go and do this. That is something that I'm going to go and do. So I need to do that. That is a no-no. So, okay. Also, I'm cheating. I know I said 14 books, but I'm going to include a book that I read because I started it, and I'm going to talk about the first 2 books in the series. So I finished it on February 1st, and I'm going to talk about it in this video because it's fresh and I just read it, and yeah, it's just best. I'm going to do it now. Okay, so anyway, enough of like the talking, and if I'm looking over here, I got my laptop. So let's just get right into the wrap up. So I'm going to start with 2 thrillers. I definitely will be reading more thrillers throughout the year. I love thrillers. They are so fun. They are truly like a palate cleanser for me. It's just so fun. I love it. And I'm looking for the exact opposite of what I'm looking for in a romance book. I want drama. I want murder. I want to be shocked. I want to be surprised. I want it to be twisty and just shocking and like clutching my pearls and like I did not see that coming. And I want it to be juicy, and I want it to be a fun, good time. That's what I want. I don't want to be scared. I want to be enthralled and excited, maybe a little like, ooh, this is kind of creepy, but not scared. So suspense, domestic suspense books are my vibe. So anyways, I read First Line Wins by Ashley Elston. So this is a new release, new thriller that just came out. Maybe I'll put together a list of thrillers that are like supposed to be coming out this year that I want to read. Or just like a list of thrillers that I want to read because I think that'd be kind of fun. Maybe I'll do that. But anyway, this is about a woman who is basically a con woman. And gosh, I don't even know how to explain this book, but she's basically a con woman. So the most recent thing that she has been hired to do, it's going pretty well. And she's feeling kind of weird. This one is very different because she is with someone, the person that she has been assigned to. You know, everything has just been going well, and she's enjoying it. You know, she's enjoying it, enjoying the man that she's with, enjoying her life, her fake life. And then this person shows up and changes things. So I don't know how to really talk about this book without giving any spoilers, because I don't even think I knew like what was even going to happen at all, to be honest. Like I didn't go into this. I went to this one not knowing anything, just that she was like a con woman. Oh yeah, so this one's kind of fun. This one says, Evie Porter has everything a nice Southern girl could want: a perfect doting boyfriend, a house with a picket fence and a garden, a fancy group of friends. The only catch is Evie Porter doesn't exist. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. I enjoyed this one, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was fine. This one a lot of people have really enjoyed. I just thought it was fun. I don't know. I didn't really think it was like very juicy or interesting. It was fast paced. Things get moving in the plot very quickly, so you will definitely enjoy that if you like that in your thrillers. I do. It just seems like it's so entertaining that way, and I like when an author can kind of keep up with the pacing of the book and keep it enthralling and entertaining. But I don't know. It kind of went exactly like I thought it was going to go. I really wasn't too shocked or surprised. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. I do know that this has already been picked up to be adapted, I believe, into a TV show, maybe a movie, I can't remember. But that's exciting. I think this is going to be really fun to be on screen. I also am going to say that I don't really think con artist kind of thrillers are for me. I find them kind of boring. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think there's too many things that you can do with a con artist thriller that I would really enjoy. So I think it's probably more of a me thing, and the more thrillers that I read, I'll obviously find out what kind of tropes and things that I don't really like. And I can honestly say that I think that like con woman-y or con artist kind of thrillers are just not for me. But this one was fun. I did enjoy it. I listened to this one on audio, and the audiobook was really great. Easy read, but I gave this one 3 stars. Okay, so next I read The Unwanted Guest by Sherry LaPena. So I've been wanting to read this book for a long time, because this one's like a snowy, kind of like closed circle. Is that what it's called? A closed circle mystery. So yeah, it's like a mystery where all the people are kind of in one place, and then people are being murdered one by one. I love that. I think that is so fun. Classic. It's giving Agatha Christie kind of vibes. I love it. It's just like a classic in the mystery and thriller genre, and I think this one was really fun. Sherry LaPena writes mainly like domestic suspense. I've only read one other book by her, and I enjoyed that one. So anyway, this is about a group of people who go on this little snowy getaway at this like a cozy mountain lodge, and you know, this like great getaway, very cozy. It's snowy. It's just like the perfect vibes, and then someone is brutally murdered in the middle of the night. They found them the next morning, and more people are being killed off one by one. So we have all of these different characters that we're following. We get all of their different POVs, and they're all suspicious. They all have pasts, and I enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. Was I shocked? Yeah, I think so. I think I was shocked. It's been a while since I read this one. I gave it 4 stars. It was solid. It was fun. I would recommend this one. Okay, so the rest was romance. So let's talk about the 2 historical romances that I read. I really loved those. So I did a historical romance reading vlog. Check it out if you want. A bunch of me and other YouTubers collabed, and we read some historical romances, which is so fun. I definitely want to read more historicals this year. I didn't read any last year, which is really sad. But I do know that Bridgerton comes out this year, and there'll probably be a resurgence of more historicals, I'm thinking, after Bridgerton. By the way, if you need a show to watch and you're liking like historicals, I recommend The Buccaneers on Apple TV. It is so good. So this was kind of perfect when Jess from Peace Love Books asked me if I wanted to be a part of this collab, because I had just watched The Buccaneers in December, and so I was like, yes. The book I read for that vlog is The Wolf and the Wildflower by Stacey Reed. So I have only read one other Stacey Reed book, and it was fantastic. So I wanted to read another one by her, and I know several people read this one and enjoyed it last year. I personally really loved this one. Stacey Reid's writing is just so beautiful and romantic and swoony. Oh, so amazing. This book is also on Kindle Unlimited, so amazing. This was also, I listened to the audiobook on Hoopla, so check your Hoopla. Maybe your Hoopla has this one as well. But I ended up really enjoying this one. This book following our hero, who's considered lost at sea and considered to be dead for like a decade, but he actually returns and he's very much alive. And his family is very happy, but he is very different. I used to know he is a Duke, and he is definitely not acting very Duke-like, okay? And they're very concerned because this can cause a big scandal. He basically has a few weeks until he needs to find a wife and get married and find someone who is suitable to be his wife. And so, like I said, his family is like, he is not ready and we need some help. So in comes our heroine. Her name is Jules. So Jules has actually been secretly living as a boy, okay, her entire life, okay, and there's a really like interesting story into that. Definitely have to read it to find out. I thought it was it's crazy how it happened, but anyway, there is a reason that she has done this, and you know, this is something that has actually worked to her advantage because she has gotten to do things that as a woman she wouldn't have been able to do. So she's actually a psychologist. Her and her dad work together. And like I said, if she was a woman, she wouldn't have been able to do this. So anyway, James, the Duke, and her and James have a connection right away. James smells her and he knows that she's a woman. Okay. I loved it. I loved this book. It was just honestly unlike anything I've read before. The story, the plot is obviously bonkers, but the way that Stacey Reid was able to bring everything together was really, really great. This kind of gave me Tarzan vibes. I loved it. I highly recommend it. It was just so well done, so well written, and definitely like one of my favorite historicals. I just found it to be like so swoony, and I loved every minute of it. Okay, then I read The Phantom of Drury Lane. Okay, then I read Kate Bateman. So this is my first book by Kate Bateman, and it most definitely will not be my last. So this is actually a part of like a series. Obviously, I read this one, and this one is way down in the series. So you can read these as standalones. They all kind of interconnect. I also think that this kind of connects with one of her other series. But anyway, this one is also on Kindle Unlimited, and this is a novella. This is a Phantom of the Opera kind of retelling. So our hero and our heroine actually have a past together. Something happened to them years and years ago, but they've just kind of ignored it, act like it didn't happen. Our heroine has been away for quite some time with her family, and she's actually returned, and the hero tells her that there's been this man, this masked man, who's been coming into the theater, like the opera, and everyone wants to know who he is. They can't figure out who he is. So he's like, I know you love mysteries. Why don't you help me figure out who this man is? There's money on the table for this as well. And anyway, this was fun. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. Kate Bateman. I really enjoyed Kate Bateman's writing. And in such a short novella, I really felt that these two, first of all, I like quickly understood their connection, the chemistry that they had, their background, and I really believed in their love story. I loved this one. It was very enjoyable, a fun time. I was very invested in just a short amount of time. I'm always impressed when an author can like really, write a satisfying story in such a short in such a short book. So I think it's just a talent that not everybody has. So I enjoyed this one. If you just want like a quick read, a historical romance, I highly recommend this one. Okay, so the next book I read was A Little Complicated by Kelsey Ray. So this was my first book by Kelsey Ray. So I actually bought this book like quite a while ago. Was it in December or something, or November? I saw a Bookstagrammer post about this book, and it's not on Kindle Unlimited, which is sad because I want to read all her books, and obviously you have to go and you have to buy them. And I'm not as eager and quick to read someone who isn't on Kindle Unlimited, right? Over authors that I can just like go and marathon all their books if I want to and just get it on KU very easily. It's a part of my subscription. But anyway, this is a hockey romance, kind of like a love triangle. I heard it was very angsty and emotional. So I bought this audiobook. I actually started this book and then I put it down for some reason. And then I saw Cheyenne from That Tall Girl, Book Girl post about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have that book. So went back and I read it and I'm so glad that I did because I ended up really enjoying it. So this is actually the first book in her Next Generation series. So of course, if you've read all the books, then you would really enjoy this one even more. But I read it and had no problems. It actually made me really want to go back and read the first series so we can see the parents' stories and the other characters, because I believe all of their kids are like friends and grew up together. So anyway, this book gave me like old school angst romance vibes, like Colleen Hoover vibes. Like this book brought me back to like 2018 when I was reading these kind of books and I was like obsessed. And it's a compliment. I enjoyed it. I can't say that I like loved it and like obsessed with it and think like this is the best thing, but I did enjoy it for what it was. So this is a new adult college romance, and like I said, hockey romance, kind of a love triangle. So we're following our heroine and it is her senior prom, and she's really excited about it because she's actually been dating this guy and she hasn't told any of her friends or family about him or anything. All they know is it's her mystery man and they've been dating for a little bit. And so this was actually the moment when she's going to introduce her family and her friends to the man that she's been dating. Well, he calls her literally right like a couple hours before prom's supposed to happen. She's like getting ready and all that stuff. And he's like, hey, so I'm gonna have to break up with you. He breaks up with her. And obviously he's not going to prom with her. She's devastated that he just broke up with her, and devastated they're not going to prom together, embarrassed, all the above. Well, her childhood best friend finds out about this and he is like coming to the rescue. I will be your date, but not only will I be your date, this is my time. I have been in love with you forever and I want to be with you. And I know that this has just happened, but this is my moment. That's what we do. We take our chance. We shoot our shot. Okay, so he does, and they actually end up dating. So, you know, no one ever finds out who the mystery man was. She just kind of like moves on. She's heartbroken, doesn't know what happened because he's the one who was very adamant about them, like he is the one who made the move to say, okay, like this is the time when, I want to go to prom with you. I don't want to just be a mystery person anymore, So just never finds out what happened and she just kind of moves on. Well, a couple months pass and they're off to college. And like I said, this is a Next Generation series. So like their parents, they all kind of grew up together. We have this friend group, which I love a friend group. They all kind of grew up together and they all like live together, like the boys live together and all that kind of stuff, okay? And so we find out, this is not really a spoiler. It could be, so I'm just warning you. But I don't think it's a spoiler, but some people may not like it. So that's why I'm saying it. I think it's fine to say it. We find out who the mystery man was. So he is actually her now boyfriend's brother. Yes. So that means that, they're both like her childhood friends. She grew up with them. And this is why she didn't tell her family, because we have this like summer I turned pretty kind of thing where everyone thought she would end up with the other brother, but she ends up really, like in the other one. So anyway, we find that out and it's just this big complicated issue. It's messy, okay? This is her first love and she's just devastated by him. And anyway, he lives like right next door. So, and her boyfriend doesn't know. Messy, fun, a good time, hockey. She is also an athlete and the boys are hockey players. Their dad was professional hockey player. So Love all the hockey, love everything. I love the friend group. It was fun. It was just such a fun time. Definitely emotional, angsty. Yes, I enjoyed this one and I recommend it. I listened to it on audio. I think most of her books are on audio, so you have choices. Ebook, audio, like I said, she's not on Kindle Unlimited, but I enjoyed it and I absolutely recommend this author and I will be reading more. Moving on, I'm going to talk about some of the fantasy books that I read this year. Okay, what that I read in January, because I read quite a few. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is Scorch Roses by Carissa Brabant. Now, this is book like 2.5 or was it 1.5? One of the two. In the Crowns of Nyaxia series. So this is supposed to be technically read after The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then you read this one, and then you read the conclusion to the duet, okay? And then there'll be other books in the series that follow different characters. And this is kind of the introduction to some of the new characters, just kind of opens up the world, explores more. This is a prequel novella. Okay, so I really enjoyed this book, y'all. I really loved it. This was a 5 stars for me. This was honestly one of the most amazing novellas that I have ever read. I wanted more. Not because I didn't feel like satisfied with the story, like it was just that good. Okay, it was that good. It was incredible. I loved it. I really love Carissa Brabant. I'm really hoping I can finish off the Crowns of Nyaxia, the first part. Okay, I'm hoping I can finish off this one, but I absolutely love this one and I cannot recommend it enough. It was amazing. I don't want to say too much about this one because it does, obviously this is a part of the series, and if you haven't read the Crown of Nyaxia series, the first book in the series, and you know, I just don't want to spoil anything, but this one follows a human and a vampire, Lilith and Vale. And I have to say this about Carissa Brabant. She writes very strong characters. Very strong women who've gone through a lot of things, and they're already strong when we like start off and we read about them. Like they don't like develop into these strong characters. Like they're strong and they go through a lot. And that's something that I have noticed about Carissa Brabant's books. I just really like the way that she writes her female characters, and this one is no different, just a little bit different. Lilith's strength is a little bit different, right, than some of the other books, because I've read so far another series, fantasy series by Carissa Brabant that I need to finish. Oh my gosh, I am the worst at finishing series. Anyway, this one does pretty much run parallel to The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Anyway, I do think that this one is going to be important before reading The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So I definitely would recommend reading it in the recommended order that the author recommends it, but whatever. But all you need to know is this is amazing and you should read it. I read, which is kind of like fantasy, it's like paranormal, fantasy, shifters, and that is Twilight of Embers by Tessa Hill. This is a Why I Choose Romance, my first Why I Choose Romance, y'all, and I had the best time reading this one. First and foremost, the audiobook is the way to go. This will go down as one of my favorite audiobooks of all time. We have some heavy hitter narrators in this that are narrating this audiobook. This was amazing, epic, fun. Honestly, haven't had this much fun in reading a book in a long time. I just enjoyed it. This is new adult college romance. This is about our heroine, and this starts off actually with our heroine's family dying, and from then she just lives a hard life, going from foster home. She ends up in one that lets her stay there for quite a while, and she ends up going to college, and she's very excited about this. It's a fresh beginning for her, a new start. So she ends up meeting some men who just, you know, she's very curious about them, okay? And now this has also so many fun tropes. So we have like the golden retriever football player, and we have like the tortured man with a past kind of thing. We have the very protective kind of broken guy, the billionaire, the professor, and she just feels, you know, like connected to them. There's like a pull to them. It's family, you know, they're brothers. That's what they call themselves. They're brothers, they're family. And she just feels like she's finally like becoming a part of something. And there's definitely a lot more to the story. I don't know what all to say about it. This was so much fun, you guys. this is just a fun time. You should read it. This is like Fated Mates, like I said, Paranormal White Shoes, Shifters. So much fun. There's a whole thing going on that our heroine has no idea about, and obviously our guys do. But the way that they just want to protect her, that's it. They just want to protect her. They want to be there for her. And I loved how we could see these budding relationships forming with each man individually. That is something that I've always wondered, like how this works in a White Shoes, because I just didn't feel like, how can you get that one-on-one? Like, how can you build those kind of connections with that one person, each person? But it was done so well. There were moments of the story when we got to see her spend so much time with one person, and you could just really see this connection, and that was kind of coming together with that. This one, it is a good time, and I mean, you should go read it. You should go read it. And the second book comes out pretty soon. I think like in April or something. I'm there because this one ends on a cliffhanger. I am just warning you guys. This is what took over my life. Rereading Crescent City and House of Sky and Breath. House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath. So obviously House of Flame and Shadows is coming out, and I knew that I needed to reread these because I don't remember anything. Of course, I just knew how this book ended, and I was like, this is wild, this is crazy, like, what? Okay, one of the best moments, reading experiences that I've ever had was reading. Not this book, but like the ending of it. Epic, okay? Epic, like, queen. So I was really excited, and I must say that I really enjoyed my reread of Crescent City. So when I first read Crescent City, I was coming off of ACOTAR, and I read this first book because everyone was talking about how they couldn't rate for House of Earth and Blood. And I was like, well, I need to read this. I really love this book. This is urban fantasy. Now, this book is, to me, definitely more fantasy than romance. And that's very different than I think than some of the other series that Sarah J. Maas has written. But I personally like that, and I love urban fantasy. Okay, I definitely want to be reading more urban fantasy. Ayanna Andrews is one of my favorite urban fantasy authors, and I've been wanting to reread their Hidden Legacy series forever. And after reading this, I absolutely will is completely different than this, but like I just love urban fantasy so much. So I love this one. It also has like a mystery element. Our heroine's trying to figure out what happened to her best friend, and so I really enjoyed this book. It is, rereading it, I haven't had a newfound appreciation for it. Lots of world dumping. Some things are really hard to get through, but reading House of Flame and Shadows, like, I understood everything that she did in this book. It made sense. Yeah, anyway, I love this book. This one holds a special place in my heart, I think. Some of the most important things in this series happen in this, you know, some of our favorite moments and quotes and things like that. There are 3 words that I never knew that can make me cry my eyes out, but then I read House of Earth and Blood, and oh my gosh, I keep saying the wrong titles. House of Sky and Breath, and this one is House of Earth and Blood. I'm sorry. But anyway, I loved this one upon my reread. Loved it, loved it, loved it. 5 stars. Okay, and then I reread House of Sky and Breath, and okay. This one wasn't as hard for me to read as it was the first time. First time, I was on the struggle bus. I was like, what is happening? There's all these different character POVs, and obviously it wasn't in the first book. So I was really personally struggling with this book the first time I read it. And I still struggled, but like, I knew that these were important things, and I picked up on a lot more on my reread. And this is like one of my most tapped books, because not necessarily because I was enjoying it my first time I was reading it, but I knew that this was important. Like, this is just such a different vibe than the first book. So I like this one more. I have a more of appreciation for it, but I don't really know if she could have done anything different or anything. Maybe made it shorter in a way. But this last bit of this book is just so good. Okay, like the last bit, it is just so good. Some of my favorite stuff that I've read. It just gets very intense and stuff at the end. So at first I rated this one 5 stars. This one I'll probably change to 4. I think 4 stars is pretty fair. It was hard to get through some parts. It wasn't as hard as the first time, only because I knew how it was going to end. And I knew that I needed to pay more attention this time around, but it was still hard. You know what I mean? So for this one, it gets 4 stars. I'm running it down to 4 stars. Okay, I do not have a House of Flame and Shadow yet, you guys. Still waiting. Okay, but I'm talking about it because I finished it, and I don't want to wait till February, to the end of February, to talk about it, because I'll just be far removed from it. So I started in January, and we're just going to talk about it. But it's a part of my February, like, reading stats or whatever. Okay. I did vlog, but I don't know if I'm going to, like, upload it because it's a mess, okay? It's truly a mess. What can I say about this book? So I went into this one with super high expectations, okay? And they were met. But this book was very different than what I was thinking and what I was anticipating. If I'm being completely honest, I was ready for my heart to be, like, broken in half. And at times it was. I was just overwhelmed with emotions. That was like me at the end of the book. But, and like I said, I may post a vlog, I may not. It's not a good vlog. My vlogs need help. But this went in such a different way. I like that this one was more fantasy than even romance. I loved it. I loved it. I like what she did here. I think she made some really good decisions. Some people are not going to like this one because it's so different. I haven't read Throne of Glass, okay? So I need to read Throne of Glass, but maybe to understand. But I think that this one will definitely shock some people, and some people won't like some of the decisions that she made in this book. But I did. I personally felt like everything came together, made sense. I felt like it was perfectly paced. Like I said, this was not the book that I thought it was going to be. I'm going to be honest. It wasn't. But I liked it. I like what she did here. I think some people could be upset with how... Okay, so this is where I'm going to get into spoilers. So just know that I enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars. I'm going to be honest. I'm struggling with that rating. Maybe it's 4.5 stars. I've had some time to think about it. There were some things that I really liked, and there were some things that I didn't really like. But obviously, I'm staying pretty spoiler-free. I have not read A Court of Flames. I know. I don't know. I just wasn't ready to read it at the time. I don't know, and I just never went back to it. That could be helpful, and for me, so I am going to go back and read that. And I'm going to go back and read it. Maybe we'll see how I feel about it then. So that's number 1. Number 2, like I said, it was different than I thought it was going to be. But I liked what she did, though. Even though it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, I like what she did. I really did. There's not too many things I would complain about. So anyway, I have rated it 5 stars. It's not going to change because for me, it doesn't deserve 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was perfectly paced, entertaining. Even the moments that weren't, even when we had like these mundane things happening, or like these moments that like didn't really do anything for the story necessarily, those things were I think were in there to like bring some humor and lightness into the story. So we had some like real moments with these characters that I actually really liked. So, even with those things, but overall I think it was very well paced. I think everything came together. We got a lot of answers, a lot of connections I think have been made. Even I've only read the first couple books in Throne of Glass series, but even I have made some connections just from reading the first 2 books in that series. So after I finish it and after I read A Court of Silver Flames, I think that maybe I'll have a different reaction and a different opinion. So until I've read the entire Mass universe, I will officially make my decision on how I feel about House of Flame and Shadow, but I enjoyed it. Let's kind of get into spoilers just a little bit. Okay. So I think some people might not like the scenes where we kind of cross over into ACOTAR. it probably won't make a lot of people happy. But this is not an ACOTAR book. Okay, this is Crescent City. So this is about Bryce. We always knew that Bryce was going to go back and she couldn't stay that long there, right? Her people in her city needs help, okay? So like we've got to get them, we've got to figure out how to help them and get, defeat the Asteri, So like I knew realistically, even though I had this like thing of what dreamed of what I wanted to happen. I had a feeling that Bryce and Nesta were gonna spend a lot of time together. I was right about that. I don't know. I thought that like Nesta would maybe like train Bryce and work with her. I don't know why I just felt like Nesta would, and I was right. And that didn't happen. So the moments with ACOTAR were interesting. I don't know, and I don't know how to feel about them. Bryce, realistically, I understood where Bryce was coming from and how she was acting in her moments. She doesn't know them. We know them, so we're like, you can trust them. It's fine. But she doesn't. And so that was something that was interesting. She kind of got on my nerves, but I understand. I do. I understand. I think that Azriel being there quite a bit kind of shows me that he'll probably get his book soon. And there's a lot that we can explore in ACOTAR because there's a lot that they don't know about their world. So that is still, there's some fun stuff to explore there. I don't know how interesting it'll be, but I think there's some fun stuff to explore. So there's that. Yeah, I had a good time with our ACOTAR people. It was fun. Not enough Rhysand. But I love that she was like terrified of him and stuff. And I love the scene with her parents. Like they were there, not that long. I think she said time is kind of like similar there too. But she, they're not too long. But like they connected with Nesta, which I loved. Her mom and Bryce, oh, loved it. And her mom was like getting on to Bryce about how she was acting when she was here and Rhys. I loved it. And I love that Randall and Rhys connected. They're both dads. I loved it. I don't know. It just made me so happy. It just felt so normal. And I really think that Bryce and Nesta really connected to each other. So I did really enjoy it. And at the end, kind of made up for it because I kind of felt like, I don't know, like it was like it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not going to lie when she left, but I was okay. I felt like everything came together. But I could understand that part. I feel like people are not going to be happy with, but it's not an ACOTAR book. You know what I mean? So as far as everything that happened, because we would be here all day and I just can't. But it all made sense and it all connected, and I just think everything connected very beautifully. I don't have a lot of complaints as far as the plot, and I liked all of the world building, and I just loved how heavy on the fantasy this was. I really did. It was not very heavy on the romance. Bryce and Hunt, definitely very interesting, but I kind of liked it. They feel like just a normal couple to me. Like, they fight and they bicker, and I don't know. I feel like I go back and forth on them as a couple. I like them, but they're definitely not my favorite or anything like that. And so I feel like that's not really how I should feel though about our main couple, but I do love them. And we didn't get a lot of like good moments in my opinion with them. So yeah, I don't know. I understood what Bryce was saying, but Bryce really was annoying sometimes in this book. She really was at times, like annoyed the heck out of me, not gonna lie, y'all, but I love her. Lydia is my queen. Listen, I'm obsessed with Lydia and Rune. Oh my gosh. I love them. I love them. I hope they get their own book. But anyway, so the biggest thing though is I felt so satisfied with the way that this book ended, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. We're gonna rebuild Midgard. I'm happy. I don't know what else can happen. Like with ACOTAR, when I read ACOTAR, it had been quite a bit after it had ended and stuff like that. I was like, wow, like this feels very final. And then when I found out there was going to be more books, I was like, okay, well, I can see that there are some characters that we can explore. But I don't really feel that way with Crescent City. Like, I don't really need a book on Ethan or Therian and stuff like that. So I could use a Lydia and Rune book. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. So I just don't know what else we could get because I heard there's going to be a fourth book. So, but this felt very complete to me. I feel very, very happy and very satisfied with how everything turned out. Okay, like Danica, Connor, Lahava, like everyone's in peace and it's exactly how it's supposed to be. And I I felt very happy. I don't know what else could happen and like I kind of think that was it. I don't know. So we'll see. But maybe I'm missing something. But anyway, I could talk about this forever. We're not going to. Okay. Anyway, that's it for kind of like the spoilery talk. But I did enjoy it and I gave it 5 stars. Now I'm going to talk about my favorite books of the month, which were, yeah, all small town romances. So on brand for me, you know, very on brand for me, but it's fine. Okay, so what should I talk about first? I'm gonna talk about Head Over Heels by Carla Sorensen first. So this is one of my arcs. I had 2 arcs this month that I read, and let me tell you guys, I love Carla Sorensen. She's one of my comfort authors. Her books are just so cozy and sweet and I love them, and they're just like feel-good romances. I think she writes the best family dynamics. I just get so connected to the family and the found family of it all, and I just love it. She does it so well. I also like her approach to sports romances. They just feel very different than any other kind of sports romance in my opinion. Like there's no sports romance like Carla Sorensen. Hers are just different. Her writing's different. Her books are different. I just really, really love Carla Sorensen. And so this is in the same series as One and Only. Now I'm going to be honest and say I understand why she wouldn't do this because it's a lot of books that you have to read. But all of her books connect. The Washington Wolves series connects with the Wolves, a Football Dynasty series, which is kind of like a second gen, a spinoff from that one, if you will. And then we have this series. All of it kind of connects. So you don't have to read the Washington Wolves series, but I at least think you need to read books 2 and 3 of the Wolves, a Football Dynasty, in order to really appreciate One and Only and Head Over Heels, in my opinion. You don't have to. I think you definitely need to read The Crush, because in this the Wolves, a family dynasty, that's where we meet this new family that we love so much. This is when we meet them. When we meet the Wilder family, okay? So those 2 siblings, so it's like a big family. Their parents were married to other people and their partners both passed away. Blended family. That's what I'm trying to say. The Wilder family is a blended family and there's a lot of siblings. So the Plan and the Crush both have Wilder kids in them, and then this series is all about the Wilder family. So lots of that to say, and that I think that you just won't really appreciate. Like I read One and Only, which comes before Head Over Heels. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But then I read The Crush, and I loved One and Only more because of that connection. So anyway, I do think that Head Over Heels is better than One and Only. I know some people didn't really love that book, but Head Over Heels I like is better, I think. It's emotional, and is it the most emotional book that Carla Sorensen has written so far? I think so. It's one of my favorites by her. I love this book. This one kind of snuck up on me. I didn't expect to love them this much. I like Carla Sorensen, like I said, but her books aren't like favorites of all time or anything. They're just like cozy comfort reads, but like that I could go back to and read on a bad day. So they mean a lot, but like in a different way. And Wilder, him and his sister from One and Only, they both help with the family business. Family's having some issues in their business, and they're trying to figure out a way to, you know, keep the business afloat and all those things. So then comes our heroine. Then we have our heroine, Ivy. Ivy, she is not from the small town where Cameron and his family live, and she has a very interesting thing going on with her dad. So her dad, it's just her and her dad. Mom died when she was young. And her dad has basically been building her up to take over his company one day. And he has not been this doting, loving father. And so anyway, he set up a long time ago, arranged for her to marry somebody that will be a really good fit for her, to keep the families united and help with the business and just their children that they'll have in the future and all those kind of things. He's kind of planned her life out for her, and everything that she's ever done has been approved by her dad. Her college, what she majored in, where she studied, whatever she's done has been, you know, at her dad's approval. So Ivy goes and she is trying on wedding dresses, right? Because she's arranged to get married, and she's in her mom's wedding dress and she just can't do it. Okay, so she runs away, and her and Cameron are actually in the same building, and they get stuck in an elevator together. I love a stuck in an elevator scene, y'all. I need more. I feel like there used to be more of that in older romances, and I need more. They get stuck in an elevator. So we got this meet cute. He had actually, Cameron actually saw her a little bit before then, but they get some time together. I love that scene. It was really, really good. Anyway, end up getting out of the elevator, going their separate ways. They had this very intense moment that both of them were kind of like, what just happened? What was that? I don't know. And so anyway, Ivy's dad is super pissed off because of what she's done, because she's called off this marriage. He's pissed off. He's like, I can't trust you, whatever. And he's like, you need to show me that I can trust you. I need to show that you're loyal to this company, so that you're going to be taking over one day. So her mother had this house where she grew up in, and nothing, you know, basically Ivy inherited it. Just been sitting there and nothing's happened. He's like, look, you need to get a deal, get this going, do something with this house. I'll trust you to make the decision on what to do. That'll show me that you're responsible and you can handle this kind of responsibility. This is how you show me that you can do this, okay? So she goes to the small town, and of course, she ends up getting Cameron's, right? They have that family business I was telling you all about. Yeah. Ends up working with the business to help, because this home needs some TLC. And for her to be able to put on the market and sell it. So his family lives right next door to the house, so there's a lot of connections there. They're working on it, you know, working on the house, and then she lives right by his family. And I absolutely love this book, y'all. It was emotional, it was sweet, it was cozy, it was everything that you love about a Carla Sorensen book. But Cameron and Ivy's romance was just everything. I loved it. I loved their connection. I loved it. It was good. It was slow burn. It was emotional, and they have such amazing chemistry together. Just, gosh, I felt it through the pages. I love this book, and I wasn't expecting to get this emotional. But when you find out what's going on, if you've read One and Only, then you do know what's going on. But I'm not going to give anything away unless you all haven't read it. But like I said, I at the least recommend that you read The Crush. I think you can get away with not reading The Plan. I think that's fine, but I really think you should read The Crush to get more of the Wilder family and stuff like that. So I love this book. Such a, I don't know, it's just such a heartwarming book, and we're gonna get a few more books, so a few more characters will hopefully get their own books. So we have a little bit to go with this family, but I love them. You know, by Laura Pavlov. This is the first book in her Magnolia Falls series. This is a new small town series that she just came out with, and let me tell you all that Laura came out swinging with this first book in her new series. She knocked it out of the park. With this book. I love this one, y'all. It's one of my favorites by Laura Pavlov. Very strong first book in the series. I actually have struggled with 2 of her previous series. First books in the series just aren't my favorite, but this one was great. I felt like she found her footing really quickly. I loved it. So in this book, this is like a good girl, bad boy. She's from the good side, he's from the bad side of the tracks kind of book. So We have our heroine, Demi. Demi's family basically owns Magnolia Falls. It runs, her family's connections with this town runs very, very deep, okay? And so she is like Magnolia Falls royalty. And she has just moved back home after going to college, and she's decided to open up this coffee shop right next door to our hero, his own gem. And Romeo cannot stand Demi's family, so he's pissed off that she's moving, that she's, you know, gonna be right next door. Like, she's so, like, he's so annoyed. And there's a really big reason, important reason why he does not like her family. It's very obvious that Demi doesn't know why, you know. She doesn't understand why she, you know, he doesn't like her, why he's acting like this towards her. She knows it's connected to her family, but she doesn't know what the reason is. So it's very obvious that Demi doesn't understand. But these two just can't stay away from each other, okay? They have an interaction. He ends up helping her, and they just can't stay away from each other after that. It's very hard to for them to fight their feelings that they have for each other, even though, like, they just can't be together. It just seems like there's no way that they can be together. So I love this one. This one connects with her, what is it? Cottonwood Cove series. Okay, it connects with the third book in the series, On the Shore. If you've read On the Shore, then it is the hero's, I'm not going to give it away because maybe that's a little bit of a spoiler for On the Shore, but it connects to the hero from On the Shore. So that was really fun, kind of getting to see these two worlds kind of collide. But I'm already invested in this series. Okay, Romeo is a boxer, and he is up against a guy who is a complete tool, and he just wants to fight him, and he's really been egging him on. Romeo kind of quit. He really wasn't boxing anymore, but this is too big of an opportunity. It can really help his business and his family, and he decides to fight. So we get a lot of boxing practices. We get to see the match. I loved all of it. Lastly, we have The Ashes of You by Catherine Cowles. This book comes out February 8th. Yes, February 8th. Listen, you guys need to read this book. If you all love the Lost and Found series, you will be so happy with how everything ends and how everything comes together. This is single dad nanny romance. We have a heroine who experienced something very traumatic, and she is trying to finally move on and, you know, do something different in her life. Heroine is excited. She's getting this opportunity and a fresh start to potentially become a nanny for our hero's family. And so when she meets the hero, she knows exactly who he is. Our hero is very familiar with her. Something happened to our heroine, and our hero, who is a police officer, he ended up being a part, who's in law enforcement, he ended up helping her. And so he recognizes her, she recognizes him, and she ends up being a nanny, okay, for his family. And unfortunately, her past is coming back to haunt her, and our hero is going to keep her safe, okay? As all do Catherine Cowles men, okay? Catherine Cowles men are just like unreal heroes book. It was emotional, it was beautiful. It was such a great ending to the series, and it was her most romantic, her most suspenseful book yet. But I'm just really, really excited for everyone to read this one. The audiobook is amazing. Go read it, y'all. It is so good. I like the boxing emoji, like the little boxing or the red glove emoji for Loving Romeo, because this is one of my favorite books of the month. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you all read in January. How was your first reading month of the year? I hope you read some really amazing books. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.